Okay, I dig it a little deeper because the plant's a little bit bigger and it needs some support. My name is Robert Carl Preston, but everybody that I know that knows me calls me Bobby. I worked 34 years at U.S. Steel. I was an electrician at U.S. Steel. Then I went into electronics. I done air conditioning and also drove a truck. I love working. I wouldn't say that I enjoy working. I would say I love working. It was early January and I went back to work. And I felt good. Everything seemed fine, but about halfway through the shift, I started feeling funny. And when I say funny, I wasn't hurting or nothing. It was just my hands started tingling and my feet started tingling. Well, I went home. I got up the next morning and I couldn't even raise my arm at all. And I couldn't raise my right arm no further than this. I called and told them I couldn't come to work, and I went to the doctor.
And so we're sitting out there, and by the time we can get ready and we go to Dr. Short, which wasn't but about maybe 2 hours, he didn't feel like he could walk very good. He kept saying, you know, I don't know how much longer I can sit in this chair. And Dr. Short come in there and he looked at Bobby a few minutes. He said, I've seen one case of it in my practice, one time. And he said, and he has Guillian-Barré.
Basically, what happens is that your immune system attacks the insulation around the nerves in the peripheral nervous system. That causes a variety of symptoms, including numbness and weakness, and sometimes loss of coordination, double vision, facial weakness. These things typically can be quite severe and rapid in their progression, usually getting to the worst point of the condition within the first 2 weeks.
They put me in the hospital and I got a neurologist come in, and he had just finished a study at UAB on Guillian-Barré. And he said, I got some good news and I got some bad news.
He said, you're going to have to be hospitalized. He said, you need to notify your job. He said, because you could be out of work for 3 months, 6 months, a year. You may never go back to work.
But the good news, you're going to get over it.
It got really bad.
But they were afraid my breathing was going to shut down, and they was going to have to put me in iron lung.
We were like maybe 12 hours away from being on that respirator.
Well, I had been in the hospital at Preston, been in there about 4.5 months. And I was going to another hospital. On the top floor, it had a rehab. I had to learn to write my name again. They'd take 2 of these little old balls and they would swing, you know, just like that. And they'd tell me to try to catch them, you know, to try to get my hands working. And they told me I could go home if I could get to where I could button my shirt. So boy, I worked hard to get there where I could go home. It was strange. What I lost last come back first.
It did leave him with lower body weakness.
How you look around and see the things that you usually do, that you couldn't do when you had this. And it felt great. Made you think about all the things that you couldn't do, and you're just so proud that you're back where you could do it.
Bad things happen, but God has a plan and they happen for a reason. And you always need to try hard to look for the good.
And no matter how bad things get, they can get better. They can get better.